Welcome into another edition of Kickin' It. I am Jeff Woody. I'm here with Grant Mahoney. We are, as always, brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing, Kelderman.com. Bigger, bolder, better. It's just better. It's an Iowa State guy. If you need heavy machinery, I'm going to regular Joe. Go to Jeff. Not me. I'm not going to give you good heavy machinery. Jeff Kelderman, Kelderman.com. We are doing a special edition today, partly because we can. We haven't done this in a while, partly because of necessity, because schedules couldn't quite line up for the guests that we had. So, Grant, we're doing a mailbag today.
Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me.
Is that a Blue's Clues thing?
Yeah, dude. Throwback.
Hey, did you when Steve came back with the like that video essentially saying like I hope that you did a little tear in the eye, or not quite?
I think my tear ducts are dry, but
okay.
it was one. I could feel it like twitching, like
it was the tears were fixing to get ready. They weren't ready. They were just fixing to get ready.
I wanted to give him a hug.
Yeah,
like Steve, pulling on my heartstrings, man.
Good for you. So since I don't do the internet, you both Aiden through the Cyclone Fanatic and Grant through his own pages on the not InstaFace or just Facebook and the X.
On the tweeter machine, as Coach Rhodes would say it.
On the tweeter. And then, so we're going to get through some of your questions. We actually, we got a lot. And it was only from like this morning at like what, 7:30, Aiden? 8 o'clock when we posted it until now. Like there's a good amount of questions. So we apologize if we don't get to yours and you did submit one, because we can only talk for so long before you guys get bored of insane ramblings. So mail time.
Okay, in just random order, Galactic Sai asks, if you had to go into a zombie apocalypse with 5 former Cyclone football players, which 5 players would you bring with you? Can be for fighting, survival skills, entertainment, literally any reason.
Okay,
you go first.
First off, Jake Latimer. Like right away.
He provides a lot of that. He provides
both humor, good, sweet guy, but also has the capacity to defend and be aggressive if necessary. And I don't know if you've like, I watched The Walking Dead up until like season 5 when like Negan happened. And then after that, I was like, oh, we're still going. So I dropped off after like season 5 or 6. But if you come up upon another human horde that's really getting territorial, Latimer would have the capacity to both be the aggressor or defender. So first pick in the draft, Jake Latimer.
Yeah, he'd also provide some entertainment when
you're
when needed.
The zombie apocalypse. Okay, so Latimer's off the board.
I was thinking just guys, like we could go back to like a Theo Rubin, like we could go back like that far.
But I don't know anybody.
I don't know him.
So, and I don't know too many from the Campbell era too. Like I know some like very tangentially know Alan Lazard, kind of, but like just not that much.
So I'm gonna stick just to guys that were around when we were there, just because we know them.
Yeah,
personally.
We know them personally. Yeah.
Yeah, Latimer would be first for me. We've mentioned before Tufty.
Ethan
Tufty.
Tufty would be another one because he can fix anything. And if you're
strong as an ox.
Strong as an ox. If you need, you're trying to access a shelter, there's a tree that's fallen on top of it. You need that tree moved. Tufty will move that tree. Yeah. You can also get a car running. I think he's built like 4 cars from scratch, like just straight up going to junkyards and pulling pieces and building them from scratch.
Did I ever tell you a story one time that I was riding with him in a car and he pulled the key out and the car was still running and I was freaking out? He's like, I'm like, dude, this is not funny. I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know if this car's gonna explode, if it's gonna like stall out and just like hit the brakes quick. It kept running, but I was like, put the key back in right now.
Please stop it. So Laddie and Tufty right away.
Yep.
Steel Jance keeps change.
Steel
Jance would be another good one.
Don't need 4 others.
That's it. Who else would we want to have? I feel like you need you need somebody that would be like both fast and competent to be able to like either go after money would be good.
I was gonna say Darius Reynolds.
Money would be good.
He's fast. He's athletic. He's strong.
James White would be good too. Reliable Jeremy Reeves would be good.
Yeah.
As far as just like general reliability.
AJ Klein too would be good.
AJ would be good. Yeah. Hunter Fisherman.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
AJ?
I thought they were saying someone's name was
Hunter Fisherman.
Like, Hunter Fisherman?
There is for sure somebody named Hunter Fisherman. 100% on this planet. Okay, so Laddie,
Fishman, whatever.
Laddie, Tufty, Steele, Money, and
I'd go AJ.
You gonna go AJ?
Yeah.
Okay. There's somebody else out there that we're missing. I just a wild card. Bailey Johnson. He is a chef, professional chef now.
Oh wow.
There you go.
So is Flap. Wallace Franklin is too.
So
and he's fast.
Okay, so
I don't think you played with him though.
I didn't. No,
I
I would say I'm going to go wild card Bailey J.
Sure. Okay.
Bailey J.
I
Because you
can-
need somebody to be able to cook usefully.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Good question. Solid. This one's from Adam Johnson. If Iowa State added 3 trophy games, what schools would be involved and what would those trophy games be called? Farmageddon and the Riot Bowl seem like clear front runners.
In the Riot Bowl. Okay. Yeah, and I mean the Cyhawk Trophy is already there, so we know that that's going to be a thing. It feels like Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Iowa State are like Baylor, are kind of the ones that were like the original Big Eight.
You said Oklahoma State too?
Yeah, like the original Big Eight Southwest Conference when that merged together to become the Big 12. Like they were part of the crew. So it feels like there's something. Maybe it's not even like a rivalry game, but like a traveling trophy of like the OG, the Big Eight. That like the best record amongst the group of those gets a traveling trophy of like the OG. It's like the Big Eight gone.
My one pick. I think Kansas State is obvious. There should be. I mean, I'm not sure why there's not. There should be a traveling.
I feel like there will be. Like this is how rivalries get built. You know, like they didn't have the telephone trophy. No one freaking cares about the telephone trophy. But like I don't know, the Paul Bunyan's axe between Wisconsin and Minnesota. They didn't just always play for it. Like the first time they played each other, like, you know what we need? We need an axe. We're gonna play for an axe. So like this stuff kind of develops over time. And I feel like the bad blood between Iowa State and Kansas State has just started to simmer. So I feel like there will be a trophy in the future.
I think people want to force a BYU rivalry.
But they're too nice.
They're too nice.
They're too goddamn nice.
Too nice. I would say
I'm sorry, gosh darn. It's BYU. Too gosh darn nice.
Oklahoma State for me is my pick because obviously 2011 beating them, like that's forever. Iowa State has always ruined their chance at a national title game. And the games between Iowa State and Oklahoma State for the last 10 years, since Campbell's been here, have always been within like a touchdown.
So like the Xavier Hutchinson year, the 4th down stop year, the when they were down, the Brock Purdy come out party year, we'll just ignore 2022, the 7 turnover game down in Stillwater. We'll ignore that one. But I would say I vote traveling trophy of the OG Big 8 Southwest Conference original teams, the ones that are still there, the survivors. It's the Survivor Bowl.
If you had
it's a torch like on the actual TV show Survivor.
If you had to pick one of the 8 new teams to forge a rivalry, who would it be?
I think Utah seems headstrong enough that they would want that. You know, like if you were like BYU, we're rivals now, they'd be like, okay, you want some brownies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but
it's crazy to me, like just how different BYU fans seem strictly from social media. Well, I guess even in person they brought brownies, but from social media to real life, even when I've seen like from social media, people say Utah fans are like complete opposite.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's because it's not officially a religious school, even though they might be LDS a large portion, but it's not required to be. But I feel like people that want to go to BYU will like self-select into BYU, and it's just like then. I don't know. You want to be around that type of people, which becomes then kind of a culture towards that.
Yeah.
I feel like also Colorado, because they left and now they're coming back.
Sure.
It's like the prodigal trophy. Huh?
Yeah.
But okay. So anyway,
I like Utah. If we're going just basketball, I would say Houston because that's
true.
That's
true.
That's nice.
Actually, the Houston Iowa State honestly feels like a when you watch UFC fights and they're both just blood everywhere, like an ear is split open. A tooth came through their lip.
No one's trying to protect themselves. They're just haymaker after haymaker.
And then as soon as it's over, they're like dapping each other, like good job, guys. It feels like that is the relationship between Houston basketball and Iowa State basketball. That like nose is split open. They're bleeding out of the middle of their forehead. And like, hey,
eyes are swollen shut.
Good game, man.
Yeah,
good game. I like you. I like your stuff.
One question. This one's from Sound the Sirens. Call your shot on a breakout player on offense and defense.
Ooh.
I'm assuming football. We'll stick to football.
I think offensively, I'm going to take Carson Hansen because we kind of know the rest of the players. And then the new guys in is it Alston and Green, the 2 new receivers, the Army and North Dakota State transfers.
Yep.
I know Green was already kind of a star. at North Dakota State, or at least a high performer. So it's not necessarily, to me, it's not totally a breakout because you can expect him to be good. It feels like Carson Hansen has the opportunity to be X factory in a way that we saw Sama, and we know what Higgins is, we know what Noel is, we know what Bramer is, but I feel like that. Yeah, I think if I was to pick one, would be Carson Hansen. He just has, I don't know, something a little bit different.
I like that. Receiver might be too deep, but I'm going to go with Benny Ngoyi.
Yep.
Because I've heard he got hurt his freshman year, spring ball. So he might have been behind the 8 ball kind of going into camp that year.
He's got some bunnies, man.
They call him Bouncy Benny.
He's got some bunnies.
And he had a nice catch, in the bowl game. But again, I'm not sure who he's behind on the depth chart, but our receivers are pretty set. We've got old guys. So I think if not this year, next year. But I think we'll see some hope from him this year.
I feel like, and I honestly haven't looked too far forward into this season. Like, it's still June. And so I haven't prepped myself into like, who should I be paying attention to? Haven't gone to any practice. Haven't really gotten too much into it. And defensively, the thing that I think is needed, and thus I don't know who it's going to be necessarily, but between like Trent Jones and Iziagu and like somebody at the defensive end spot is, I feel like, going to I don't think they're not going to be Will McDonald. I mean, maybe there'll be there's a guy in there that's going to explode, but like MJ Anderson, that level of production, it feels like somebody on this roster will get to that. And I don't know if it's Trent Jones, Iziagu, or who. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. So forgive me.
Kennard Skinnerd, I think his name is the new guy from Louisiana Monroe.
Okay.
I think he could be like an MJ Anderson type guy.
Yeah. So there's somebody. I think somebody at the defensive end spot, because there's not a lot that's up for question. Like the safeties, pretty sure you know who they are, and you're pretty sure you know who the backups are going to be. There might be one guy in there that's here or there. You lose Tampa, but is it number 31? What's his name? Tashawn Crawford?
Jontez Williams.
Jontez Williams. So you got Jontez that's going to probably replace TJ Tampa. Miles Purchase is there. Darian Porter is going to be your other corner.
They got the LSU transfer cornerback.
So you have there's plenty of depth pretty much everywhere. It's still going to be Sadowski,
Willich got hurt, so I don't know if he'll be back.
Well, McLaughlin was kind of by the end. See, Willich and McLaughlin kind of rotated in and out, but like you have McLaughlin, Sadowski, and then you're losing Gary Vaughn, so somebody else is going to have to be.
Love it. Saw a little bit of action.
Somebody's going to be there. We're not exactly sure who that might be. There's a freshman, I forget his name.
Brazina.
He's a super athletic dude.
Kid from Illinois.
Yeah.
I think his brother played in the NFL for a little bit.
So anyway, I think to me the defensive line was okay last year by Iowa State standards, and it feels like a guy like Dom Orange was really good. I think the defensive end position has a chance to take a step forward.
That's what I was going to say too. I was going to say Ike Iziagu would be my guy. The Iowa State football media has shown him a lot in like the highlight films, the pictures, and all that. So yeah, I'd probably go with Ike.
Okay.
Would be mine.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Let's see here. This one, Aiden, you want to pull up the Maui matchups?
Oh, I'm so excited for this. So pumped.
G. Jack Barr asks, who are the best and worst matchups for Cyclone men's basketball in Maui, and why?
Okay. First off, hard to tell because in men's college basketball,
fluid.
It's so fluid. You don't know how everybody's going to come together. But to me, I would say the worst matchup is probably UConn because they haven't had that much turnover. They lost Klingon and they lost whatever their point guard name was, the freshman kid.
Yep.
Both of those guys in the NBA, but they still got guys like Caravan. They still have everybody else back from the back-to-back national titles. So they're going to click faster than a lot of other teams because there's less turnover on the roster. Because even Iowa State, you lose almost your entire front court, but you replace them with transfers. So like Bob Jones is gone and Hassan Ward is gone. So you lose your front court, like your center position. Trey King is gone. So you're going to have to replace that, which is going to take a little bit of time to get figured out. Guards, great. Shooters, great. Like this roster has the potential to be awesome. We all know that, but it might take a little bit. And this is so early in the season that you don't want to play a team that is established. So to me, the teams you don't want to see are UConn. That's the number one, the worst one, because they don't have a ton of turnover. I don't know what Auburn has coming back, but I think Bruce Pearl is probably going to be able to establish enough. So between the teams that I would rather say would be UConn and Auburn are the two teams that I would probably want to avoid. But I mean, outside of UConn, it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah. I mean, UConn, they lost a couple of guys, but they replaced them with Mahoney, a guy from St. Mary's. He was the other.
Oh, yep.
Him and the guy we got from St. Mary's were the two like studs for them last year, I think. So he's going to be, I think he's a shooting guard, small forward for him. They also brought in Michigan's center, I think, who was good. So I mean, they'll
be fine.
They'll be fine.
And Dan Hurley's great.
Yeah.
He's obnoxious, but great.
I would love to play them. I think they are the worst matchup for Iowa State, though. UNC, I don't know what they've got. They're always good. I think they have brought in some studs though, and they were a 1 seed last year, so they'll probably be good again.
And I feel like the teams that would be your better fits would be Colorado, Dayton, and Michigan State, because those teams again are sort of naturally fluid with transfers in, transfers out. Dayton, though, like I don't know how much that program is so solid. Like Dayton is actually, I don't know if Dayton's a team that you want to play. I don't know. Colorado, Michigan State, Memphis. Let's call it that. Those are the three teams that you'd want to play. The Dayton, North Carolina, Auburn, TBD. UConn is let's put them on the other side of the bracket, see in the championship game.
I'm fine with Dayton. I'd be fine with Iowa State playing Dayton. The only thing I am afraid, I'm not even going to say afraid, but that I am not confident Iowa State would beat them would be UConn. I think Carolina would be a tough matchup. Michigan State, I think Izzo he needs to retire. I think he's out of gas, but he's Izzo. But it's also November. It's not March. Memphis, I'm not sure Penny Hardaway is a good coach. I'm not convinced. Great recruiter. I'm not sure he's a good coach. Dayton, don't really know much about them. They're obviously from a lower conference. I would still take.
But they're always consistent.
They were top 25 last year.
Yeah, they were. Dayton was a 4 seed, 5 seed.
I don't remember what seed they were, but yeah.
And they are, like you said, they are always a solid team. Colorado, they lost a lot of guys. Their stud was a freshman last year who declared for the draft. Eddie Lampkin, formerly of TCU, transferred to Syracuse out of Colorado. So I think they have a lot of turnover. They might have a new coach too. I'm not sure on that. And then Auburn, Bruce Pearl always has a good squad together. They had I can't think what they had a stud last year. I imagine he probably declared for the draft. If not, they're solid, but they're gonna be solid regardless. So that's what I would say for the Maui matchup.
But I mean, talking about UConn, then I think where Iowa State would have struggled. So like a couple of years ago when they played UConn and got beat by, was it like 14 in the Phil Knight thing? One, they had no offense that day. True. And because they beat North Carolina when North Carolina was down, and also Caleb Grill just went off. And it took that to get a win. But what they struggled with UConn is UConn had 2 7-footers, one of which being Klingon, which he's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft, and he's an athletic 7-footer that they didn't have the body to match up with. Well, they probably have a big, but I don't think they have Donovan Klingon again. Like they don't have somebody that's that athletic and that physical to be able to push around or figure out against Iowa State. But at the same time, Iowa State has length, so they're between Deshaun Jackson and JT Rock and with the other guy missing one that came in from
Jennings.
Yeah,
Jennings, right?
Was it Wazoo? Is the one they transferred from?
No, that's you're thinking of Brant Chapman.
Yeah,
not him. The guy from St. Mary's.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, long and short of it is Iowa State does have front court now. So as far as
experience,
if you were to say honestly, like across the country, Iowa State's backcourt is as good between Jones, Lipsy, and Gilbert. Between those three, you put those three up against any backcourt in the country, objectively, people would take Iowa State's against most other places across the country. So like backcourt, if your guards are good, they can fix a lot of problems early in the season, and Iowa State has good guards. So I don't know. It's not that you can't beat UConn. You just know that UConn's going to be a super stiff test.
Yeah, no, and yeah, like I said, they're the only team would be worried about. This one comes from the Cyclonator. Who will be this year's leading receiver, and who will be the leading scorer in hoops?
Leading receiver by receptions, Jalen Knoll. By yards, Higgins.
I like that.
Because I think Jalen Knoll is going to have a really unique role this year because of how much depth they have at wide receiver and because of how much talent they have on the outside. You're going to have to put a nickel on Jalen Knoll. You're not. I mean, you could travel a corner with him, but who are you going to leave the other corner on? Again, Green, Alston, Nagoye, Higgins. There's 4 guys that can realistically be your outside wide receiver at X and a Z. He's going to be a slot guy who can also play outside if he has to. So in 3 receiver sets, he is going to draw a substandard cover corner, and he is a terrific route runner. So to me, he's going to have some pop plays. So his stat line, like I feel like his average stat line for the year is going to be like 8.5 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Like something like that. Not literally a touchdown a game, but something to the effect of not necessarily 100 yards in any game, but like he's going to have 2 or 3 receptions of 30 yards in a game that just pop when it's 3rd and 4, catches one for 45. Like that type of Jalen Noel. And then Higgins, because of the relationship he and Rocco have, screw it, he's down there somewhere. Higgins has that with Rocco. And I don't know, the offense's balance feels like they will be able to get matchups with Higgins, one-on-one and or against a zone coverage that's shaded to stop, whether it's Sama or Hansen or inside with heavy tight ends. Like you're going to get good matchups. So I think total yards, Higgins, receptions, Noel.
I think so too. I'm going to agree in agreement with you there. Mauser, has for what it's worth, I don't think it's coach talk, but he's saying he wants to sling it and he wants to throw deep. That's kind of what we've heard from Rocco, from Mauser, from guys within the program that Mauser wants to huck it. So I think Higgins is a burner. I'm not sure we really have any other burners per se.
Benny Nagoye.
That's where I was going with, maybe Benny. One question for you, kind of leading off of this that was not asked. Will Iowa State have 2,000-yard receivers this year? Is there a chance?
Ooh, I don't think so.
I don't think so, just because we spread out so much.
And there's too much depth there's too much depth for 2 guys to get it. Like Rocco might throw for like 3,500 yards though.
That's what
like,
he did last year.
3,500, maybe 4,000. But like there will be a lot of receptions that are open and available because you have receivers all the way across the board. And when you think about it, like what does Brock do so well for the 49ers is, people will, he doesn't throw it down the field, but he delivers it accurately to Debo at 7 yards in a position to get him down the field to make plays. Well, Iowa State then would, in order to replicate sort of what Brock does at the 49ers, you need to have guys that can make a play after they get the ball. The Western Michigan transfer, forget his name. Is another Jalen. So Western Michigan transfer, just a water boat.
Jalen Jackson, I think his name is.
And then you have Jalen Noel, Carson Hansen, and then Sama a little bit out of the backfield if you need to. But the amount of explosiveness that this roster has, it feels like you're not going to be able to really lean towards one receiver or the other, or outside or inside. Like with the Lazard Butler days before kind of Charlie and Chase got to really kind of advance their game, you could play deeper and wider and just tell your linebackers, hey, we're going to cover these guys, linebackers, you play the run and stop Montgomery. We're going to take care of it that way. So it feels like to me, there's not going to be 2 guys that are that high above, but I think Higgins will get there.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe they do. I'm not ruling it out, but I would take 1 getting to 1,000.
Okay. What about 1 to 1,000, 2 over 700?
Yes.
2 additional over 700.
Yes.
Okay. And then how about for men's basketball? Who do you think will be the leading scorer?
Wild card?
Don't
Jiggy.
say it. Oh, you
Jiggy.
said it. Jiggy. All right.
Jiggy. I think he has and obviously Gilbert is the other one that you'd say it's between those two, because Taman's not going to be a leading scorer, I don't think, because he's going to want to distribute more, but he will score his 22 if he needs to. But his stat line, if he's like 12, 13 a game, that's kind of probably where he wants to be, versus
12, 13 a game will get you $2 million in Manhattan.
Sure. Coleman Hawkins, good. Downgrade in coaching. Yes. But I don't know. It feels like Kurt has the capacity to shoot from the outside and drive well enough that when the defender closes out on him all the time, because you have to, he's one of your best shooters, he can get in and get that floater. And he's also 6'5", and so he can body up a smaller guard when they have to play on somebody else. Versus Keyshawn also has the capacity to do that if his outside shot improves. Like, can you imagine if Keyshawn can shoot at, like, I don't know what his shooting percentage was, but effectively shoot at 38, 40% theoretically. If he could be there from 3 and force a closeout as good as he drives the ball, as aggressively as he drives the ball, if you can pull the defender out to the 3-point line and give him all that room with other shooters like Noyus or like whoever else you want to put out there, Kurt, Taman, Mom Chalovic. You can have, I mean, the amount of scorers you have, and I don't know, Milan X Factor, if he takes a big step forward, could, but I'm going with Jiggy.
Okay, I think Jiggy and Keyshawn are the leading candidates. I'm going with Momcilovic.
Milan Momcilovic.
Yeah, I'm going with Momcilovic just because I think, I think he'll bulk up. He'll take the next step, and he's going to do his little ditsy doodle under, and yes, and he's gonna, he's got his game figured out. He's gonna bulk up. He's got 1 year on his belt. He's a crafty son of a gun, so I think he's going to do it. Also, I think I said the guy from St. Mary's name is Jennings. It's Jefferson.
Okay. Also, you don't need to ask for the women's basketball team because it's Audie Crooks.
Yes.
Does anyone within 4 points a game of Audie Crooks? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think one of the transfers we got, the girl from
or Oregon State, the shooter,
Oregon State,
or Marquette.
Marquette. I think the girl from Marquette will be within 4 points. She may be our leading scorer.
No, Audie. No, Audie Crooks is going to be.
No, I don't disagree. I think Audie Crooks, but I think other girl will be within 4 points. Finley brought in just shooters.
Yes.
Girls are shooting like over 40%.
That's great. The women's roster, we talked about this for like 20 minutes on one of the earlier shows. The women's roster is so well constructed because you have between Audie and Addie, you have two bigs that can both play inside and outside. Addie is a better shooter than Audie is.
And they brought in a girl from UMass who's like 6'3", I think.
As to at least spell Audie Crooks.
And the girl from LSU that didn't play last year.
Yeah, and I don't. Maybe she'll get some run. Hopefully she will.
She's big, so
roster's so well constructed.
But you have.
He's got his fast.
Who are you going to sag off of to help on Audie Crooks? Who are you helping off of? Because that's what they did in the Stanford game. Is they just sagged off and Cameron Brink 1-on-1, Audie Crooks, but we're gonna put somebody else to force the ball out of your hand or go 1-on-1. Who are you helping off of? They're 45% shooters all the way around the roster. Emily Ryan being the quote worst at like 40. Godspeed.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
No, it's gonna be a fun year. And we will there's a question from the Cyclone Fanatic tweet that I'll get to after this. I'm going off just for my tweet. This one I'm gonna take just for me, then I'll give you one just for you. I'll give you two just for you. This one is from Zach Boss. What missed kicks still haunt you? And what made kick what's most memorable in your cycling career? Well, I haven't played in about 15 years. I wouldn't say any still haunt me, but I would say some come to mind. Iowa game my freshman year was a bad game. I missed a short kick on that one. Missouri, my junior year, I missed a short one on that one too.
Was that Blaine Gabbert?
It was. No, it was
Chase Daniel. Yes.
It was Blaine Gabbert.
Gabbert, because Chase Daniel was before Blaine Gabbert. And then Brad Smith was before him. Right?
I don't know you made up Brad Smith. That's a generic.
John Anderson.
That's a generic. And in the Iowa game my freshman year, I think I'd made a kick or made a PAT, and I was just so juiced up because I'm from east side of the state. You know, growing up I wanted to play for Iowa, and then when I got recruited by both, I was like, no, these guys suck. One of my kickoffs, my steps were way off. I was like lunging.
Good. It's nice.
Oh, it was terrible. It was a short kickoff, and afterwards I'm like, what was that? Geyer, I came beside him and Zach's like, what was that? And I go, I blacked out. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was. It was my first time playing in a road game, second game of my college career.
At Kinnick.
Yeah.
Which is a wild place.
And they're right on top of you. And there were guys that I went to high school with who were out there before everyone else gets out there before the game, just yelling at me. There's 100 people in the stadium. Music's playing not that loud, and you can hear them just, Mahoney, Grant, you suck. What was the most?
That was your mom.
Yeah. What was the most memorable made kick? There's a few. I would say the 57-yarder versus Nebraska at home in 2010 is probably my most memorable just because it was a long kick. It was one that I talked about before. It was set up to be a fake. They were in safe. Coach Rhodes called timeout, said go out there, kick it. Did. And then also, I'd say at Nebraska the year before, we beat them 9-7. 9-7? Yeah, 9-7. And then also Iowa senior year had like a 50-some yarder before half that was fun.
You kick footballs against Nebraska.
Yeah. Nebraska. This one's for you. This one comes from Blake Regal Culp is his handle. I don't know. Ask Jeff if he got a commission from selling the family tailgating van last summer.
Sure did. So this is my in-laws. They had a little. It's like a, I don't know. It was a bus of some sort, but it wasn't like not like a short bus, like a school bus, like I don't know, just a smaller bus, and they weren't going to use it anymore. They're moving down to Pleasant Hill. They were building a house down there. They didn't want to take it. They may or may not go to games. They wanted to free themselves up to travel, and they wanted to sell the tailgating bus. And I was the agent that was hooking that up, and he goes, "I'll give you." Was it something like 10?
You're the plug, huh?
Yeah, it was like, I'll give you 10% of what we sell it for if you can hook someone up to sell it. We used the money of the sale to buy a crib, so it wasn't super exciting, but super functional. But I absolutely did get a commission out of that.
That's great. That's great.
Yes, thank you.
This one I'll leave.
Good
for you
add to
too.
the story.
This one I'll leave for you. I was reading some of the questions. Sorry. This one I'll leave for you. This is from Cyride Dave. I hope Cyride Dave was a Cyride driver.
Was he the guy that had the conversations all the time? I forget his name.
Oh, I have no idea.
You remember? You know what I'm talking about? There was one guy on the Orange 23 route that always would just he shot the cannon off at the games too, so you'd see him there every once in a while. Aiden, you know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't think he was around. But fun fact, Cyclone Larry, Cyride driver.
Oh, interesting.
While I was in school.
Brent Bloom was a Cyride driver. He was in the. So I don't know if that's the same guy or not, but there was one guy that was talking to me and Geyer, and we were freshmen at the time, didn't know the colors, and we are in West Ames. The guy's like, "All right, guys, last stop," and we're like, "No, we got to get to the stadium." The guy's like, "The stadium is not on this route." I was like, "We have a meeting starting in 3 minutes. We got to get to the stadium." And the guy's like, "Yeah, you wanted to get on whatever color it was. This one takes you wherever." And the guy, he was talking to us the whole time.
Well, that's nice.
And we just kept as we kept driving away from the stadium, I wanted to ring the bell. Let me off.
I can walk there.
And Bullware kind of ripped into us, but he realized
you're idiot freshman.
It was like the second week. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know the colors. Didn't have my moped at the time.
RIP moped.
RIP in peace. That one was got a good one the second time. Cyride Dave, back to this question. This one's for you only. Do you think that 2012 team truly had the potential to win 10 games?
Yes. And every loss was a close loss. You know, like I at least to the best of my recollection, not a lot of those games were blowout games. I don't know, 10 wins maybe a stretch, but I guess I don't recall the schedule, but that was a super talented roster. I mean, that was not AJ. I think KO was it KO in 2011? Was he a senior?
KO. My last year was 2011, the Pinstripe Bowl.
That'd have been what, Farn, Braden Burris. The offensive line was there. I mean, Corey would have gotten there by that point. Defensive end,
probably.
Carter was there. Like that. The quarterback injury / carousel kind of was a detriment. So Tulsa won. Iowa, that was the not tip game. Western Illinois, kicked shit out of them. Texas Tech. Was that was the Steele game because that was in Ames. I think Steele was still starting. Was it that year or was it the next year? I don't remember that one.
That would have been his senior.
I don't remember.
Was the senior, I think.
So I don't remember if he was playing in that one. I remember there was one where he had 3 or 4 turnovers.
TCU was
TCU
the
at
Josh
Fort
Lenz
Worth.
game.
Yep. Kansas State, always close losses. That was Colin Klein, I'm pretty sure. Oklahoma State lost. Okay, that's a decent loss. In Stillwater, I remember that one. And then Baylor beat that one. That was a fun game. Not had a crazy game on that one with the torn shoulder labrum. Oklahoma.
Didn't Steele have 5 touchdowns in that Baylor game?
That would have been.
Click on it. Click on recap. I think 10 wins would have been on the question.
Yeah.
I think maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, I mean it was a talented roster. We just managed to screw it up a couple times. I think the 2011 team was probably, I don't know. Between 11 and 12 were both really good.
Underperformed.
Yeah.
I don't know what the record is now, but the recap has Steele Janet's tied school records for completions, 36.
In Baylor?
Yeah, against Baylor. And he had 5 touchdown passes.
In 2012?
Yep.
36 completions, not attempts. Wow. Okay, this one. Sorry, I think I said last one. This is the last one.
From your Twitter.
For my Twitter before we go to Cyclone Fanatic. From Zach Roskilly. He's got a few here. First one, we'll start with Poncho Chipotle.
Poncheros.
Oh, why?
The tortillas are substantially better.
Okay.
Also, the odds of getting salmonella way lower.
I'm a bowl guy.
Same.
I'm
But here's a pro tip if you want to do it, is just get a burrito, have them put it in a bowl, then you cut up the tortilla and actually like mix it in with there, because tortilla, especially pancheros, really good.
Yeah, if I'm going with the burrito and the queso, I'd probably go panch. And the fact that they bob it, I like that. I like that they bob it.
Wild card, Qdoba.
Qdoba's nice.
I would go panch 1, Qdoba 2, Chipotle 3.
Get out the club. Get out the club.
What? No.
Get out the club.
Have you guys
Panch.
seen? Sorry to interrupt. Have
you're
you
not.
seen the trend on Chipotle? Like what people are starting to do.
I haven't.
So they're being accused of like kind of skimping on how much food they give you. So
I've noticed
people
that.
take videos of the people like making it. So if it's bad, they can post it.
Oh, Jesus.
If it's
Christ.
good, it's good food.
I'm gonna do that.
That's so.
Valley
my
West
restaurant.
Chipotle is like, that's one closest to my house. Their chicken's always burnt and they always
Right.
skimp out, and yeah,
Why are you just trashing on people, man?
they don't want. No one wants to be there. Like people are gonna just look miserable. Oh, what can I get you? You want to make my burrito or not? Get out of here if you don't want to. I'll get back there and make it myself. I'm a Chipotle guy because I am a bowl guy. If I was getting a burrito with queso, I'd go panch. And at the fact that they bob it, that's just nostalgic for me. Just having just a little baby. I really got mine loaded up. Just a little baby. It's nice and swaddled and just really take a big old bite out of it.
3 pounds worth of burrito.
Yeah, and then take but the gluten from the burrito and the dairy from the queso, my stomach don't like it too much. So yeah, it does. So that was nice. And so I'm a Chipotle guy. Mostly, I think mostly because the panch on Ingersoll is the closest one to my house, and again, no one there wanted to work there. The burritos, the quality went down, and I said, all right, I'm off the train. I'm gonna give Chipotle a try. Boom, haven't looked back. This one,
Aiden?
I'm punched through and through.
Yeah, attaboy. Good choice.
I've only been to Chipotle 2 or 3 times.
It's always disappointing.
And honestly, it was more of like my family. It was just a Pancheros family. So
It's nostalgic.
Mm.
Brings you warm feelings.
Okay. Starting quarterback, running back, wide receiver, dream starters from the Campbell era.
So we're getting from the Campbell era. So you
Purdy.
have 1 quarterback,
Purdy.
2 running backs, and 3. How many wide receivers?
2 receivers.
2 receivers.
I'm
Brock Purdy.
gonna toss in a tight end too.
Okay.
See some good tight ends.
Brock Purdy. That seems pretty easy. The tight end's Charlie. That also seems pretty easy. Wide receiver 1, Allen. Feels like that would be kind of there naturally. I feel like wide receiver 2.
Let's not count Allen. Let's
So
do
ignore Allen.
Just ones that Campbell recruited.
Okay. Did Butler? Was he a pure Campbell, or was he a end of Rhodes?
I believe Butler was a pure Campbell.
Okay, I would take Hakeem 1, and then 2. Are we getting? I don't know. Deshaunte Jones is a guy that comes to mind because he's always consistently there, and he had 19 receptions against UNI that one time.
Okay.
And then LaMichael Petway,
Solid.
wild
Third
card.
down guy.
Wild card. And then the 2 guys that you have right now with Higgins and Knoll.
Xavier Hutchinson for me.
Xavier. Oh, Jesus. I completely forgot. Why did I forget about Xavier Hutchinson? Yeah, it's Hakeem Butler and Xavier Hutchinson. That's an easy answer. Thank you for making me not sound stupid.
Running back. Pretty obvious.
It's Brees Hall and David Montgomery.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I feel like we had to go much further than that. Then it becomes more of a discussion. But like, it's I mean, but think about that roster though. Like
fullback. Toss in a fullback though.
Is it Sean Buckner?
Mhm.
Would it be Sam Sean Buckner or I mean, Dylan Sainer would count to that. Steve O'Klotz falls into that category. I think
Russ Bus.
The Russ Bus. I feel like Sean Buckner probably, but I guess I didn't watch like film, and that position's really hard to grade without watching like film, because you don't know what the responsibilities of that person are, and usually they're either immediately at the ball, and their block is really predicated on what the running back did or didn't do. So like if I'm going to block you, and I'm expecting the running back to be over my right shoulder, but he cut a little sooner and he's over, or the running back's on my left shoulder, you're now going to adjust to match him. So I'm not going to get as square of a hit on you as I would expect, because I don't know where the ball is and I'm right there. And so like sometimes a great block is just redirecting to get to a guy to match where the running back is going, instant reaction. Other times it's like you have to hit this defensive end and knock him into the third row of the stands. Go get him, Tiger. And that's the stuff. Sean Buckner was the best at that.
Yeah.
Of just like, F you, move out of the club. So I don't know. I would probably say Sean Buckner.
I agree.
But that's why like Russ was, I haven't watched enough film, but I think the thing that Russ to me felt like he also very rarely missed that much, that like he was consistently on the body of the person, of the blocker, the defender he's blocking. So I don't know. Hard to say without actually watching film.
If there were one person from our era who didn't play a position but would have been great at it, who would it have been?
At that fullback spot?
Yes. Let's say it on the count of 3 once you have it. Because I've got mine.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Matty
Preston
T.
Kaufman.
Oh.
Oh, Matt. Yeah, Matt Toffolo would have been good too.
Matty T. The only thing with Matty T is he would get like he gets in his own head and he like mess up the assignment.
Well, yeah, like Latimer just said.
Yeah.
Oh, get him, Jake. Oh, I totally messed up. I think the problem with Matt, love the guy. He would have gone left and should have gone right.
Yep. But Brian Ekwalundu would have, because he played that position, but we didn't really run with a fullback much when Ekwalundu was there. But Ekwalundu, him and Preston, they were buddies. And then, can I make a late substitute for our zombie apocalypse question and put either one of those guys in with Preston and or Ekwalundu?
They'll be a substitute. They're on the bench. You call
Just your Tufty's pulling them around with the trailer.
Yeah.
Just hitch up a plow to Tufty and let him drag the rest.
All right, so we're sliding over to the Cyclone Fanatic tweet on the questions there. This one comes from superfan Corey Morrissey.
Morrissey?
Corey Morrissey. Corey Morrissey. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
I'm gonna say no.
So here's this. The only reason a hot dog wouldn't be a sandwich is an emotional answer. The logical answer is yes, it is a sandwich.
Okay.
So it's if you answer that a hot dog is not a sandwich, it's because it doesn't feel like a sandwich because you've always called it a hot dog. Define to me a sandwich.
A sandwich is something you eat that's between 2 pieces of bread.
Okay.
A hot dog is between 1 piece of bread.
So is a Philly cheesesteak a sandwich?
A Philly cheesesteak? I don't know. I've never had one. Is it 1 piece of bread?
It's a bun you slice in the middle and you put it in there, and you don't want to cut it all the way through because then the meat falls on the other side. So it's that. So is a hoagie, is that a sandwich?
A hoagie is a sub sandwich,
which is cut halfway through and stuff is shoved in there.
Those are handheld
got it.
Meat.
Oh, yes, meat delivery option. So the only reason a hot dog would not be a sandwich is an emotional response.
Is a taco a sandwich?
That would be, I mean, as a tortilla bread. Like, does it qualify as a bread? If so, then yes, we need to include it in the thing, because the literal
soft shell
taco would theoretically be a wrap, which would be a sandwich if this is going to be the conversation.
But then a hard shell is a soft shell that's fried.
Because if we do that, then if we are including a handheld delivery of something, whether it's some filling between 2 pieces of bread, then we either have to include hot dog or we have to take out hero sandwich, Philly cheesesteak sandwich, hoagies. We have to take all of them off the table, or we have to include all of them. You can't parse hot dogs separately from Philly cheesesteak hoagie sandwich.
I think it can be a sandwich in its own category.
I mean, yeah, like an elephant is a mammal, and a whale is a mammal, and a chimpanzee is a mammal. They're all mammals, but you're not going to be like, that, not an animal. Doesn't exist, not an animal. They're different.
Is a corn dog a sandwich?
Is a corn dog sandwich? It's more of a pocket. It's because it doesn't have. I mean, that one's wholly in that's dipped and fried. So then that would also be like is a
hot pocket sandwich.
Is a hot pocket sandwich? I mean,
is a beef Wellington just a pinky up corn dog?
Yes.
Okay. We ended on beef Wellington. So yeah, final bit of the argument. Final statement is hot dog is a sandwich, or we have to take every split bun sandwich with the hot dog into the no category. We cannot live in a world where a hoagie is a sandwich and a hot dog is not a sandwich. That cannot exist by literal definition unless you feel it, in which case you're voting with your heart. You're not voting with your brain. And that's okay. Embrace that. Embrace that. You can't logically argue it in.
When we were in Italy, we went to like the world famous place for sandwiches, and it was basically just I don't know if it was a ciabatta or what it was that they cut. No, it was a focaccia that they just sliced.
Oh yeah, in Florence.
Yeah,
and so good,
dude.
It's the size of your head.
We got 3, didn't finish it. And we're like, we're here, we have to get them.
It's the size of your head. It's great. And I forget the name of it. Yes,
we make one of their famous sandwiches now. Like back at home because it's easy to make whatever.
Bread's not as good because you can't get that bread is awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go to South Union and it's not quite the same, but it's like close enough. It's like a Walmart version of it. But that one is not sliced all the way through. It's basically like a pocket.
Right. And so then it's a split sandwich. So either we can't include that if we don't include hot dog, or we do include hot dog and do include that.
No, I'm not counting it as a sandwich. I'm counting them as meat pockets.
Okay. Then hoagies are meat pockets. Philly cheesesteak, meat pocket.
All right.
Anything that's a split bun is a meat pocket and not a sandwich. I'm
All right.
cool with that. I'm going to go with yes for that reason.
This one comes from Tracy J. Senkot, the handle. Not sure. Sorry if I butchered that. Similar to what the two guys did, what are each of your top 3 most important games on the Cyclone schedule this year, and why, and what game scares you the most?
You go first, because I haven't looked forward much. So this is going to be sort of a stream of consciousness reaction. I usually tend to like prep into the season, come like once fall camp actually gets here and the roster's pretty much set. No one's quit, gone home, transferred. You know who all's there at all the rest of the conferences. It's kind of when I start like actually looking forward to the year. So I haven't really done much prep into it. So this, yeah, stream of consciousness. Aiden, can you pull the schedule up? And then we can kind of go, if we just go first 4 games, middle 4 games, last 4 games as like just the what, quarters of the season, thirds of the season, periods of the season.
Right off the dome, I'm gonna say
Iowa's huge. Like for both Iowa and Iowa State, because Iowa's schedule is pretty easy, but they are going to be good. Like as much as it's annoying, their defense and special teams will keep them in any game, and their offense is they have to be better. Like statistically, it would be impossible for them to not be better. So if their offense is just half a shit and they are reasonably competent, Iowa's going to be in the conversation for a playoff spot just because of the Big Ten being, again, their schedule's bad. If they're 10-2, they're in the conversation for a playoff spot. Iowa State, then, if they beat Iowa, has that as a quality win in your camp, just in case, because I think the Big 12 is a 2-bid league probably for this 12-team playoff. So you have the champion, and then if another team is like up there, and so you have to have these non-conference wins. Not a lot of other teams have non-conference wins that could be of this capability. This is a big one for both the conference and Iowa State. So I think Iowa and Iowa State, for either one of them, for their playoff hopes, are huge based on the rest of the team, which is a fun thing to just think about, to layer on top of that game.
Off the dome, I can just think that Iowa, Kansas State, and Utah are the 3 biggest games for Iowa State, just because, like you mentioned with Iowa, and then Kansas State and Utah come at the end of the year, and those could determine the conference championship berth.
Yeah, and so I think West Virginia is going to be sneaky good. Their quarterback, is it Green? Is that his last
West
name?
Virginia too. They got a good running back too.
And they lose.
UCF is also going to be good.
But that's in Ames, which is nice. That's my birthday. Nice. So UCF will be good. I think West Virginia is going to. They are playing West Virginia football. Like they've finally gotten Neil Brown, despite being on the scorching ass seat, finally got the team to match the physicality that West Virginia, in order to be successful, a blue collar state needs a blue collar identity to just go at it. And they ran, I think it was the BYU game, they ran for like 305 yards or something like that. So West Virginia, because they have a scrambling quarterback, I mean, that one feels important.
Can I say something controversial?
Nope.
I'm not sold on West Virginia. I think last year they had a fluke year, and they're going to go back down this year.
Okay.
Everyone is high on them this year, but that's my hot take.
I think their quarterback, the mobility of their quarterback and its capacity to run. Like think about in Madden, like you play Madden or like the NCAA football game, when you're in a slump, you can't figure out what the defense is doing, and you're playing on like all Madden mode, and you're like, screw it, I got Kyler Murray, let's just run, or whatever it is. And then you still that applies in real life when you have a guy who can be your slump buster. It's the free throws of football, is if you can get a quarterback scramble for 9 yards on second down. Like that kind of thing keeps you on track, and West Virginia has that. So I don't know. Do they have the full package? I don't know. But West Virginia, yeah, Kansas State, Iowa, Utah feel like the right answer. Kansas is also going to be a big game. It's
at Arrowhead to be fun.
And so Kansas is going to be big too. I think Texas Tech, I don't know why people are always high on Texas Tech.
They're going to be good this year.
Why? They were supposed to be good for the last 3 years.
Well, they've got their new coach, plus their NIL is nuts. So they've been bringing in some good guys.
Weren't the odds last year? Weren't they picked third last year?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it was Texas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech. I think they might have been 4. But either way, They were
They'll be sneaky this year. I mean,
I
they'll
don't
probably be a
think so.
7-win team.
Sure.
Can you scroll down a little more, Eden, please?
Kansas is going to be.
Finish at Utah and then at Kansas State. Kansas will be tough.
I think Cincinnati. I don't know what
Booty
they have for
Chiefs.
quarterback. Probably not that good.
Booty
Tyson
Chiefs.
Vite, sorry. But the Kansas, Cincinnati, Utah, Kansas State. That's a really rough. That's a hard 4-game
Yeah.
stretch. I don't know. I would say, Kansas, Utah, Kansas State, Iowa, and then West Virginia, sort of, kind of.
You scroll up a bit though. We play West Virginia in October.
October.
Iowa State doesn't lose in October. That's why
October
they're not
12th.
That's why they're not going to lose.
There you go.
West Virginia. Okay, I like that one. This one comes from Kyle. Sorry if I butcher this. Adama. It's widely known that I-State is the worst helmet logo in college football. What past helmet logo do you want to see on the ISU lids in the future? And he says Walking Psy, Script Cyclones, Iowa State Tornadoes of the 80s, and Psy NATO are all amazing and to make the uniform amazing. Aiden, you
So
post it for us?
yeah, this is for the visual medium. So Aiden's got kind of some photos of helmets like throughout the years. When we were talking about this, even without looking at it, we had the same answer.
Yeah.
Which is what 70 was 84 to 94.
84 to 94. Yeah,
That was what it was?
I like these ones where it says ISU and has the yellow lines at the back of it. Like,
So
looks
you
like
want to
equal
scroll up to
sign?
the years so
Kinda
people can kind of be able to. Is that 77 to 78? Or the I don't know. Yeah, I think 77 to 78 would it be like where it's Iowa State kind of moving letters. Then the
ISU in the
like
eyes,
the Mike Bush helmet, that one.
These ones, this one's underrated too.
The ISU with the star on the eye. That one's it was fine. It's just not.
So that's what the I don't know if they still have it now, but a few years ago, the Iowa State club baseball team, that was their hat.
Okay.
Was the Iowa State with the S kind of starting above the U and then finishing below the I with the star above. That used to be, I think, the
that feels good like for a baseball logo, but it doesn't quite feel it doesn't have the same branding because Iowa State's brand like the it's pretty modern kind of uniforms.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a throwback-y kind of vibe. So keep scrolling, Aiden. We'll go back down. The ISU again. I think that's the Mike Bush-ish years. So that one right there.
This one right here is the best one. It's the yellow helmet with the red Iowa State above, and then it's got
it's kind of a script. It's not a script, but it's like I don't know, a very flowy cyclone
swirling,
underneath it. Because the thing, and I feel like there's really the helmet design that I think they should do is either starting in the back or starting in the front. The Jack tries 5 stripes. So like how Michigan does starting at the front, and they do like the Wolverine swoop or whatever it's called. If you put that on the back and have that run forward, or have that from the front rolling backwards and having the 5 stripes like that, or that tornado that we have on the screen right now, again, it's 84 to 94, I think was when that was used, that has the kind of actual cyclone because no one else is the cyclones. Like Illinois State and Idaho State are both I states, but there's no one else that's a cyclone. So using something to that effect feels like it's a little bit of a thing that's necessary. So
if you were to do the Jack tries, say that the Jack tries stripes, would you have anything on the sides of the helmet or just have like a blank helmet with the stripes?
I don't know. Somebody get on that. Start mocking that up.
Cool.
We got a lot of talented people on the internet.
I like the script cyclones as well too, but again, it's not we're the only cyclone, so I think you have to have a cyclone.
Yeah,
but I don't like Cynado. I'm not against
the tornado chicken.
Yeah, tornado chicken. I'm not against it, but
I'm not a huge fan of tornado chicken.
Saying the tornado chicken's fine.
It's fine.
Okay, that's good for that one. Is our 2024 receiving corp? They just kind of this is from Mesa Clone. Is our 2024 receiving corp with Noel, Higgins, Green, Brahmer, plus some solid depth, the best group ISU has had in the 21st century? I'm saying yes.
In the 21st century? Boy, that I thought we were just in the Campbell era, like prior to this.
Let's stick just to the Campbell and Rhodes era.
Okay, so the natural one is you have Hakeem Butler and Alan Lazard at the same time with, I think DeShante was there at the same time. So like
I think he might have been a little bit.
DeShante was a little bit after
because like 2017, that's like Marchie Murdoch, Trevor Ryan.
Trevor Ryan was the slot.
Yeah.
So it's Trevor Ryan, Trevor Ryan, Allen, and Hakeem Butler. As your starting 3, those guys are pretty hard to beat. Just because of the playmaking ability you have on the ends, really hard to beat. However, total depth, and if we're talking the whole, I mean, because it was Blythe.
DeShante Jones was there.
Who else was there with
16
Blythe?
to 19?
So DeShante Jones was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DeShante Jones and Trevor Ryan were there as your slots, and then you had Marchie, but Allen and Hakeem. Like that to me feels like
That's solid, yeah.
that's a really good receiving core. And this one though, like as far as total depth is concerned, it's everything is always rosy. So it's really hard to say, yes, that's true. But it is also hard to say that this wouldn't at least be in the conversation of potential with how much upside this group has. But this is, not necessarily I ain't going to believe it until I see it, is show me, prove it.
I say yes only because I feel like Iowa State's got 3 NFL guys on the roster right now.
Between Noel, Higgins.
No, I think,
Noel, Higgins, and Bramer.
maybe
Bramer needs to
4.
thicken up a little bit.
Maybe
And then
4.
depending on however these Alston Green guys are, Nagoye.
I think
we don't
Nagoye is
know.
our 4th. I think Nagoye is an NFL guy. I think Noel is not a surefire, but I think he's going to have a shot. Bramer, I think, is, if he continues on the trajectory. And Higgins, I think, is.
Is Kai Black anywhere on the depth chart at all?
He is. He's down there a little bit. He's still young. He was a true freshman last year. So he's still young.
He's built like a tank.
Yeah. So I say yes to that. This question's for me. I'm going to take it. Sorry, Jeff. This one's from 3 Aces, or kind of confused by the name. 3 Aces, but their @ is 2 Aces golfer. Congrats, though. I've never had an ace before.
Oh,
Maybe they're
good
at,
for you.
Maybe they're at 3 Aces now.
Good for you. Just need to update the handle.
Yeah. Grant, what should the coaches be looking for beyond making kicks in practice that you believe separates great kickers from good ones? I'm interested in your thoughts, since it appears there's a kicking competition going on. You got to have
capacity to wipe with a rock.
Yes, your ability to pick a smooth one in a crucial time. You got to pick out, look down quick.
Decisions under pressure.
That one, yes. Pressure, though. I mean, that's for real. I would say consistency. Obviously, you want someone who's consistent. You want someone who's got a big leg, which I think Conradi, the guy that they are like high on, has both. He's only kicking for a few years, which is crazy. That consistency, the ability to not let one kick affect the other. So you miss, you miss a 30-yarder. Don't let that linger. Come back, and make the next one. I'd say be a leader. You want a guy who, you don't need to be vocal and rah, but I would, before the kickers, punters, and long snappers would go out for the game, I was the one who was always giving like a motivational speech, saying whatever before the game. You want that guy who steps up and just talks to the bomb squad, as we called it. So I would say, yeah, maybe obvious answers, but making kicks is always the most important thing. But you also want to have some strength on you. And then maybe one more question here. Okay, this one is from Boz Clone. Two questions. We'll just go one at a time, and this will be our last question. We'll wrap it up. What position group will make the most improvement this fall versus last, do you think?
I think we talked about it earlier. I think the defensive ends, it feels like. But I also think another one, which I feel like we undervalue a little bit, the running backs.
Ooh, I was going to say linebackers. Okay.
So
running backs is good because they're all young.
They're all really young. And they also they weren't really good until the end of the year. You got Norton and Sanders that were kind of your primary ball carriers earlier in the year. They were good at times, they were bad at times, and then by the time Sama essentially said, "This is my job," with BYU and obviously Kansas State and games towards the end of the year, that's when the running back group became like, "Oh shit, get out of the way." I think that you can expect more consistency within that group because you have at least 2 guys, and that freshman, was it Lee? Is that his name?
Dylan Lee.
You have at least 2 guys, and maybe Lee, depending on how much he's going to ball out.
From Eastern Michigan too. This little scat guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to be probably more
Jalen Jackson. Maybe like a
more slot guy.
Jarvis West.
Yeah, more slotty. But I think between
that's what Eli Green's for, though.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
You can have multiple.
Nope.
There's only one.
There's a rule.
But I think, between Sama and Hansen, you have 2 guys that, if they continue to progress, have the capacity to take over games. So it feels to me like the running back room has the capacity to go from being a good unit to, you can't expect Kansas State every week where it's, ripping off 12 50-yard touchdown runs. But I think you can expect something towards that, where you force one-on-one matchups with this deep wide receiving core because of how good the running back group is. So to me, it's the running backs that are kind of poised or need to take the biggest step up. In addition to defensively, I was saying defensive line, because you need a pass rush that doesn't require bringing additional pressure to make this defense really hum. In order for it to be really, really good, you need to have a natural pass rush.
I'm gonna say offensive line for offense.
Yep.
Second year with Clanton, brought in some transfers. The dude from Jalen Travis, the guy from Princeton, dog. He's gonna be an NFL guy. He's gonna be drafted. He could have gone almost anywhere. He's good. So I'm gonna say offensive line on offense. We need it. We need it too. Brendan Black played as a true freshman last year. You don't see that in the Big 12
ever.
So never. And that was basically going off of God-given talent. He was in the weight room, but as you know, getting there in June and then you play in August, you're not really putting on that much muscle. So he's an entire year. Plus, you got everyone back. The dude from Wisconsin. I'm not sure how good he's going to be, but Wisconsin pumps out linemen, and
Hufford's a tank.
Yeah.
Have you seen him in person? Like, you interacted with Jared Hufford in person?
He's big, but he's not like he's baby fat. Like he's strong.
He's like a linebacker. If you you pinch zoom and you scaled him up, he's like a linebacker. If you just pinch zoom up to be like 315.
Yeah, he's like a white DK Metcalf. Not that far.
Not quite.
Too far. Okay. But we've got guys across the line who the five obviously that started last year.
And again, I think we mentioned too. So James Neal is not necessarily immediately going to get eclipsed for another position. He only played football for 2 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's young,
and he is a really sharp dude. So in the interactions I've had with the team, Neal's really sharp. Jim Boniface is a really sharp guy. So they're going to continue to progress.
For a job.
Jim, I think the offensive line has the capacity to be good.
Tyler Miller's back too. Also, then I would say on the defensive side, I would say linebackers, because they were all young last year with McLaughlin and Sadowski, and then Vaughn, obviously, and whoever fills in for Vaughn this year is going to be young as well too.
I would say an X factor / wild card is the backup safety unit, because this group, the safeties, the three starters between Bo, Cooper, and Verdon, those three, one of them is going to get hurt. They just do. It's a position that requires so much physicality. It's going to happen. Last year, when one of them or one or more of them was hurt, there was a huge step drop between the starters and the backups of that group. And even if they weren't hurt when they were getting rotated in,
opposing teams would
target them hard. So I think between, is it Patton, so Patton and Surges, 29.
Sure.
Those two guys. And I'm sure I'm missing one, but there's
a dude from Minnesota. I'm blanking on his name.
But anyway, I think
he was a good recruit.
The backup safeties, to me, those that are in the second unit, they need to improve. And hopefully they do, because again, at some point you can't expect 100% attrition or 100% retention of every position, especially in the safeties, kind of based on the history that you've seen with them.
This was a two-part question too, or I guess the second question. So this is the last question. I'm gonna wrap it up. What ISU team are you most excited to watch this coming year, given the high expectations for football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and wrestling?
Aiden, you can chip in on this one too, because I think this is just as a fun fan. We did a whole episode on how fun this upcoming sports season is going to be. And you get it from August to March, like that, just consistent, really good sports from August to March. The entire academic year, save for April and May, when there really isn't any major sports going on, is going to be fun, high quality, national championship, conference championship level. To me, I am the most excited. I mean, it's a hard question. I feel like the men's basketball team has the highest possible ceiling as far as natty possible ceiling.
Okay.
The women's basketball is close behind. Wrestling, there's always Penn State that's out in front, so you're fighting for second. And football, I think if you make the playoffs, then you got to host a playoff game. That is going to be a hell of an atmosphere. So I would say men's basketball, women's basketball, football, wrestling, but I think all of them will finish their seasons ranked inside the top 10.
For me, I don't know enough about wrestling, so it's the last one for me. Sorry, guys. I know we got I know we got some dogs though. Football is number one for me because it's my favorite sport of all four. So I'm most excited for that. I would say number two is probably women's basketball.
That roster's so well done.
So well done. And they play UConn early on with Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers will be getting all the highlights, all the headlines this year.
I think Audie's a star this year.
She is.
She's going to be in that pantheon of
and that's what I was going to say, is that Paige Beckers is going to, they're going to want to give her the Caitlin Clark treatment this year. But that game versus UConn, if Audie balls out, that's going to be her
ticket into the show.
Who is this girl?
Yeah, well, and
Who doesn't know about her?
the Cameron Brink game. I mean, she scored a zillion points.
LeBron talked about her.
Yeah, she scored a zillion points in that game.
So I think this year will be
Maryland. Sorry,
Maryland.
It was Maryland. She scored a zillion points against Maryland.
Yeah, and then Stanford she didn't. But I think that UConn game will be huge for the women. They get that win. It's going to be a big signature win for them. Not only just because they're beating UConn and Gino Auriemma, but like I said, Paige Beckers will probably be the number 1 pick next year. And then men's basketball, I would say is third for me. But I think men's basketball, like you mentioned, has the best chance to win the national championship. And they're always fun. And March Madness is always my favorite time of the year. But for me, it'd go football, women's basketball, men's basketball, sumo wrestling.
Not a sport. Not a sport here.
Sumo wrestling.
Grappling.
All right, Aiden, let's hear it.
I'm going to reflect Grant's ratings, I think.
Okay.
The only thing I might change.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, yep, that's all I got. That's all I got. No, I'm going to go football just because that's my favorite sport too. But women's basketball is just, I mean, I know Iowa State has a history of being excited for men's basketball and stuff, but women's basketball is just kind of special at Iowa State. So it's always fun when they're pretty good. So
yeah,
I think that's pretty exciting.
So you're going football,
women's, men's, and then wrestling.
And yeah, wrestling. The hard part about wrestling is they might finish second, but they won't sniff first.
This is it's not even like I'm least excited. It's like I'm the least most excited.
Yeah, they're all like, if you can get a chance to go to any one of those sporting events, whether that be a game at Hilton or a meet at Hilton or a game at Kinnick, Jack Trice.
Oh my God!
Go to get they played at Kinnick this year.
Kick him out.
Anyway, so like if you can get a game any one of those places, would be worth going to. And like I said, I mean, football's the one that is the biggest stretch to finish in the top 10, but not a super stretch depending on how the season goes, because there are going to be so many games that are 50-50. Like we talked about Utah, Kansas State, Kansas, Iowa. Like there's going to be a lot of games that are if they all fall Iowa State's way, they're a top 6 to 18 because you're going to win the conference, but also Iowa State could realistically finish 7-5 and lose 4 or 5 games by a grand total of like 11 points. Like it could happen that way. Versus I think the sample size of basketball means that, like, let's say the women's team, I don't know, they have a dud of a game and all their 40% 3-point shooters collectively go like 4 for 25 and they get beat by 31 at some Big 12 school. Cool, shake it off. You got another game in 3 days. Versus football, you have a dud of a game, all of a sudden that really hurts your chances because there's just not enough of a sample size. So I don't know, that to me is like why I think the basketball ones that I'm really excited for those two, just because higher quality teams tend to finish higher up in basketball because of the high sample size that you can lay an egg. I mean, Houston got murdered by Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. Still only lost like 3 games, 4 games.
They got murdered by Iowa State in the Big 12.
Yeah, they got murdered, and then was a sprained ankle away from going to the Final Four. So I don't know. Regardless, all 4 sports super fun this year.
When we first started kicking it, I had wild predictions, and I said this year Iowa State was going to win 10 games. Yeah. If they don't this year, it'll be next year because all the guys basically will be coming back except for the defensive guys. But I'm saying this year, I'm sticking to it.
It's not crazy.
Sticking to it. So that's all I've got. Thanks to everyone who sent in questions. That was fun. We'll be back next week. I said I'm done teasing people, but this guy we've rescheduled him before, and he's so proud to come on our show. So yeah, that's it. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners who are still listening. And as always, remember, adopt, don't shop.